Right now, we're going to start off with our first guest, and we have with us Frank Pindiak.
Pindiak, sure.
Yep.
Yep.
And he is the executive director of St. Catherine's Center for Children. And what an amazing place that is. 1886?
That's when we started, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Well, I know you didn't start then, but anyway. And Jackie, you're the chief operating officer as well. So we're going to be talking a little bit about, first of all, it started in 1886. We have some photos. You brought some really great photos.
Right.
Let's take a look at the photos. And while we're looking at them, tell us a little bit how it started. Were
Sure.
they started by nuns or?
Well, it was the Daughters of Charities that did start St. Catherine's. And so there was an outbreak of measles. And, this is in the city of Albany. And that what they needed to do was they needed to, separate those children from the other children. And went to the Schuyler Mansion in the south end of Albany. And we were there until 1913 when we went to our current location at 40 North Main Avenue in Albany. And it was around 1960 when there was a period of redevelopment for the agency to the point now we are considered one of the region's premier child welfare organizations.
I'm going to interrupt you just because we're looking at a picture here. This is class of. What is that a class of?
So there's child care technicians learning how to work with children. Those were all nurses and people, women more specifically, that took care of the orphan babies. And this is then the first class of that. And so our history is still rooted in caring for children, where we work with children that are physically, emotionally, sexually abused, children that we've worked with. So
not just orphans, they could be foster children.
That's correct. So in our current day and age, we don't typically use the word orphan, although many of our kids are not necessarily connected to their biological family. So we serve children who have had abuse histories that Frank mentioned. Typically, there is some family disconnect or there's a struggle or a challenge within the family unit. So our job is really to work with the child, work with the family. Oftentimes we are working towards unification.
And I think that is the goal for like social services in many of the organizations.
It is, exactly. Right. We seek permanency for these children. So oftentimes we look towards the family, but there are select times when the family is not ready or not able, for whatever reason, to care for the child at that time.
There could be many reasons. It might be health. It could be health. It could be anything.
Sure,
that's absolutely right.
So,
so at that point, we identify other resources for the child, and we really work towards creating a safe, stable environment for that child.
I think stable is a very important word.
Yes,
that's right.
That's for sure.
That's right.
Yes.
So foster care, adoption, kinship care, and in some cases, they stay with us in our residential program.
Okay, and so what age groups do you work with?
So we work with children between the ages of 5 and 13 in our residential program, although in our foster care program we could serve children up to the age of 21, both boys and girls. In our school, in our residential program.
You have a school as well.
We have an elementary school. We have a K through 6 elementary school, and it's a unique situation in that it is both funded and operated by not only state education, but we also have the Office of Mental Health funding as well.
Okay, that's
so
good.
there's a counseling, psychiatric component to our program that provides children with that additional support that they need in order to continue to improve academically.
How many children would you say you work with? I'll use the word work with because some might be residential, some might be there temporarily per year. Well, just a round number.
I would say we work with nearly 2,000 children and families from 22 different school districts from 20 different counties.
Oh, wait a minute. How many counties?
20 counties. We're a regional,
Oh, my goodness.
regional human service provider.
I had no idea that you had that
Yes.
reach.
Yes, so our referrals come from all over the state. One of the other things I wanted to mention is also our homeless services. So while we talk quite a bit about the families and children, we also serve adult individuals as well. So we have a Marillac, which is our family shelter.
I saw that, yeah.
And so we have 20 units, and we serve families who are unsheltered. They don't have a home at the time, so they come to us for shelter and for connection to permanent housing. But we also have permanent housing units that we have folks who are individuals also in need of housing. And I think we now have almost 70, apartments across the capital region where we
What
also
a huge enterprise. I mean,
provide
I use the
permanent
word
support
enterprise
housing.
loosely, but the program is incredibly large. I had no idea how extensive that it was. And I think we want people to realize this.
Right.
And I'm sure your referrals come through agencies, is that correct? Or are there self-referrals?
Mostly from counties or school districts.
Yep.
Are our primary sources of referrals. We're not a campus-based organization. We're out in the community. We have group homes, and we have site-based houses that we house people
Well,
in.
it's a healthier environment. I mean, rather than being institutionalized, so to speak.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
I think that's a key. And it's not just children's services, as Jackie just mentioned, but it's also families and individual services that we provide at St. Catherine's.
And how do you get your funding?
95%, 97% of our funding comes from contracts with local districts and school districts and counties. And a small percentage is come through generous donations of people that know us and want to continue to support our efforts. The funding that we get does not cover everything
It can't possibly.
for the children.
Right.
And so what we'd like to say is that additional funding would support more activities for the children.
You could
being
even
able to
expand if you had to. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
So one of the important things about our kids is because of the difficult circumstances in which they've experienced, oftentimes they don't have the opportunity to participate in activities that some of us take for granted. Sports activities, going to the Great Escape, going to Yankees games, things that we all did growing up with our families. And so we really try to provide our children and families with that experience. So again, that state and federal funding isn't so that kids can go to the Yankee game, but we all know that that's part of childhood.
enrichment,
That's
yeah.
part of a family environment.
Yeah.
So we really use that generous donation and the wonderful sponsorships that we have in the community to provide those experiences.
And I understand you have an event coming up at the Crossings on October the 14th, which will help you raise some of that money. But if anyone would like to make a donation, they can certainly go to your website. And there's a place to click on donate and make a donation. Or do you use volunteers at all?
Yes,
Oh,
we
they
do.
love volunteers too. Doesn't
Yes,
everybody love a
we
volunteer?
We do. We have a volunteer office. Children, we have a makeover program, and essentially inviting the child in with the volunteers, and volunteers would ask the child, "What's the theme of the room that you'd like?" And we've had children that have wanted NASCAR and Zootopia and Frozen are some
You
of
never
those
know, right?
activities
But if
Yeah.
you
that they
want
do.
to support
So
St. Catherine's, certainly go to their website and please support them. And maybe you want to volunteer, maybe you'd like to make a donation. But it's a marvelous organization that needs your support as well as your recognition as well. We're going to take a quick break. In our breaks today, we are going to see West Larrabee over in Middleburg and see the wildlife rescue. Stay tuned.